Hi, my name is Mary. I had a very wonderful life and a family. Now I'm just lonely with nothing. Let me walk you through my life story, the happiness, the sadness, and my sorrow.
I had a very amazing family. I was the oldest of my siblings. My sister, Joyce, was the second born, and Junior was the baby of the family, the only boy. We had such an amazing family dynamic. We were kind to each other, also helpful to one another. My dad wasn't too rich, but we were very comfortable. He had a small electrical business that brought reasonable income home. My childhood was great. I made a lot of great friends in my neighborhood and I laughed a lot. A lot of people told me I was a likable girl. I guess that meant I was nice and welcoming. This was all when our lives were great. It wasn't too long until strange things started happening to my family. Up until 15 years old of my life was amazing, but after 15 is when life tragedy started. One day on my way home from school, I met an old woman by the roadside. She was very polished, very good-looking woman. She called me over and asked where I was going. I told her, she was an old woman, she looked harmless. Then she proceeded to tell me to ask my mom about where me and my sister are from because we need to do some rituals to clear off some curses from our heads. I said okay and walked away. By the time I got home, I have forgotten all about what the old woman told me. I was only a teenager and didn't know the seriousness of the message I was given. I went home like every other day and didn't remember to ask her a thing. I didn't meet the old woman again, so I completely forgot being told anything at all. Fast forward, we're in our 20s and out living in our hostels in the university. I was leading my sister just 2 years and am only 3 years older than her. I was very active in university. It's safe to say a lot of people liked me for my intelligence and beauty. I knew I was a gorgeous girl, but I was reminded of that every single day by my teachers, friends, and classmates. When I got to the final year of school, my sister was a junior at my university, but it wasn't too long before I graduated from the school. During my 3rd year in school, I met a cute boy. He was studying a different course from me, and we became friends. Later, he asked me to be his girlfriend. I thought he would be my husband, but I guess it was just a school fling. He was my first love, and I was invested in the relationship for the short period of time it was. My sister got to the 2nd year of school, and by the time I had already graduated, she started dating a boy, and it got serious, at least so as I thought. They dated for less than a year and my sister got pregnant. She dare not tell my mom this. Our mother was very nice and kind, but boy, she was very strict too. There's no way she would have accepted the situation slightly. I tried to protect my sister in this situation, but I was wrong. I told her to hold on to the pregnancy for a while and not inform our mother about it. I was waiting for a right time to discuss it with her first and apologize on her behalf before she comes home. I guess I took so long. My sister planned with her boyfriend to have an abortion. An act that was forbidden for my sister, and I based on where my mother got us from. My sister came home one afternoon in so much pain, and she later bled so much that we took her to the hospital only to find out she did abortion, but unfortunately for her she didn't survive. I was broken. Oh, broken is understatement. My mother was so hurt. She only wished my sister would have told her about the pregnancy. She said she was willing to receive her wholeheartedly, but it was too late. We grieved my sister for a good period of time. I almost told my mother that I knew about this whole pregnancy saga so we could go on and look for my sister's boyfriend and arrest him for the abortion, as he equally contributed to the idea, but I also realized that my sister may have been equally interested to do it and not forced solely by the boy, so I just let it go and focused on grieving my only sister. It's now been 4 years after my sister passed, and I was 27 years old at this time. My mom became strict on me up until I turned 26 because she was scared of losing me too. But she knew I would get married soon because I was of age, even though I wasn't dating anyone until I was 27 years. After school, I opened my own small grocery shop to the Market Road with the capital my dad gave me after I graduated. I'm sure you're wondering why I opened my own shop after graduating university instead of working in my career field. I studied business management, but it was hard securing a job after school. So I chose not to waste my years in life and started something for myself. My dad, being the kind man he was, he started the business for me. My shop bloomed over the years and I expanded on the size of the shop. This is where I met my late husband, Apoku. We instantly clicked, like we've known each other for years. We started talking and dated for a while, and before we knew it, we were planning our wedding. We got married 2 years after meeting. Our marriage went great, at least for the first 4 years. We tried multiple times to have a child during those 4 amazing years, but that wasn't a success. We went to the doctors routinely, and we were always told there was no issues at all. Thankfully, in our 5th year of marriage, I found out I was pregnant, something we have been wanting for a long time. My husband was so happy. did everything I wanted, and he cared for me very well during the pregnancy, but unfortunately I miscarried 4 months into the pregnancy. This was a very devastating news for my family. We prayed and trusted God for everything that happened. I got pregnant again couple months after miscarrying the first pregnancy. To our surprise, there was another miscarriage. This one was very early. It was just 7 weeks into the conception. My husband took it cool, but I didn't. It was devastated. It was so broken, and thought to myself why my body had failed me twice. During this time, I was actively communicating with my mother about everything happening, but she assured me everything will be fine, and sometimes we will even pray together on the phone. The third pregnancy didn't happen until a year after the second miscarriage. This pregnancy is the one I will call my blessing for the entire 9 months. I carried my child up to her due date. She came and there were some complications at birth, but thankfully we both survived it, but it didn't take too long before issues started happening again. My baby was 3 months old, then something bad happened. One evening we went to sleep like every other evening and everything was just fine. I woke up midnight to feed her and she responded, and got fed. Everything was okay, but the next morning is when my whole life flipped upside down. My baby was unconscious, she wouldn't wake up. I panicked and quickly took her to the hospital. My husband was at work, so it was only me at the hospital until he later joined me. It took few hours for the doctors to approach us to talk to us. They did everything they could, but Barbie, my daughter, couldn't make it. They said it was SIDS. I didn't know what that meant. They had to offer me and my husband education to understand how powerful that was. I thought I was dreaming and this wasn't my reality, but it was. I cried myself to sleep every day as I couldn't just accept the fact that my daughter was gone. This was so painful for my heart to take, but after 2 solid years, I was in a better place to try again for another baby. My husband understood the pain I was in, so he didn't pressure me or anything about trying for another baby. I got pregnant yet again after 2 years and there was another miscarriage this time. I was emotionally exhausted. I was just done with the emotional roller coaster. This is the last pregnancy that made me give up. I wasn't worried about getting pregnant anymore after I lost this baby too. I was 7 months into the pregnancy, almost full term, right? But life had other plans. One day I went to my prenatal visits, which was weekly. Everything was fine the previous week, but this time there was an issue. My doctor tried for my son's heartbeat and there was nothing. Few days before my appointment, my son's movements had drastically reduced. This wasn't something new, so I didn't pay too much attention to it. Back when I was 6 months pregnant, his movements reduced a bit for about 2 days, and on the 3rd day, I felt his movements again, so I thought that would be the same thing as this time, but I was wrong. My doctor sent me to do an ultrasound, and that when they found out that my son had passed away. He had the umbilical cord wrapped around his neck, and by the time I went to the hospital it was too late. It had blocked his oxygen. This loss wasn't like the previous ones. I was just emotionally drained and exhausted, experiencing the same tragedy differently. At this time I was almost 37 years and I had given up completely on having my own child because I knew my age would also make it even harder. My marriage started changing. My in-laws had been very understanding from the start. I must say there were little to no pressure at all about having children, but after 8 years of our marriage with all this miscarriages and child losses, my mother-in-law lost her patience, I guess. She didn't confront me personally, but she started feeding her son with ideas. This made my husband started showing different behaviors, staying late outside. I'm not sure if he had affairs outside of our marriage, but I didn't find any evidence of that sort, so I believe he didn't. When I turned 40, surprisingly, I was pregnant. Personally, I thought that was impossible for my age, and I also wasn't eager about conceiving, so it came as a surprise to me. Oh, and my brother, I was 10 years older than him, so he was 30. My brother was also living with his wife at this time. My brother was very kind to us, but he was a distant person in nature. I'm not sure if that was because he was the only boy, but we barely talked on the phone or even met in person. He was like that with my mom too. But I guess he kept in contact more often with my dad, which is understandable. So sometimes I will only speak to my brother like 4 or 5 times the entire year for occasions, holidays, or even birthdays. He was very quiet and distant in nature, so I didn't take it to heart. He was married with a daughter, or maybe he didn't want me to feel bad considering having losses and not having my own child, just maybe. My pregnancy was successful and I had my baby, thank God. It was a baby girl again. I said to myself that it was my daughter Barbie that had been born again. She looked exactly like her, so I named her Beauty. Beauty brought a lot of happiness to my heart. She grew up to be a very beautiful and smart young lady. I had Beauty at 41 years old, but the same year I brought life into the world is the year I lost another. My dad passed away 2 months before Beauty got here. They couldn't meet, unfortunately. My dad died a natural death. He was old. He was 84 years old. My dad had me in his 40s, so he was pretty old. Now it was just my mom. She wasn't too strong either. She was 72 years old. My mom had me in her 30s as well. She was able to move around but not do much. Because of her condition, she couldn't help out when Beauty was born. It's my mother-in-law that came to stay with us and help out. She was younger than my mother. All the time when I was going through life tragedy, my mom never for once remembered she could have been the cause of the issues, so she forgot to mention anything about it to me. When my mom got to 79 years old, she passed away too. By this time Beauty was 6 years old and knew about my mother, her grandmother, so well. Life was great despite losing both parents. I was also happy that I now have a child and things are also going well. Now the only family I had was my brother and my auntie and uncle, my mom's siblings. I didn't know too much about my dad's side of the family. My auntie was my mom's younger sister. She was 63 years old, pretty old and fragile too. However, my mom's little brother was only 45. I was older than him. He was born 3 years after I was born. There was a huge age gap between him and the other siblings my mom had. Also, 2 of my mom's siblings had already passed away. They were 5 siblings altogether. I was a bit closer to my uncle than my auntie. Sooner than later, my husband passed away. He was involved in an accident on his way back home from work one day. At the time, my daughter was 12 years old, in her preteens. She was so hurt to have lost her father that soon. Now it was just me and my daughter in the house. I made sure Beauty never lacked. I provided everything for her. Once in a while, my brother will call me to check in on how we're doing and also check on Beauty. After my husband's funeral, I knew I will not remarry. I was in my 50s. What would I need another marriage for? I was just focused on my daughter. Beauty did well in school and she got to the university. She was an adult now, in charge of her life and capable to things. Beauty told me everything because I built that relationship with her from the start. She saw me as one of her best friends. She had dated a boy in her school and they graduated the same year. Their relationship went on after graduation. She told me all about the boy, but one thing she didn't tell me about was the abuse she suffered from him. Beauty never for once mentioned to me that the boy beats her, and he controls everything she does until it was too late. He manipulated my daughter into staying in the relationship with no option of leaving even if she wanted to. Honestly, I was shocked finding out he was an abusive man. He was such a sweet and humble boy. If only I knew he was the opposite behind closed doors. Beauty moved out after she graduated to go live with her boyfriend. I didn't like the idea, but she insisted, so I allowed her. We usually will stay on the phone and talk throughout the day. I always wanted to hear from her. One late afternoon, I received a call from the police department. My heart instantly missed a beat, thinking to myself, why would the police call my phone? Maybe it's a wrong line, but it wasn't. The call was in fact for me and nobody else. I answered the call and the police asked if I was Beauty's mother. I said yes, and they asked me to go to a certain hospital as Beauty has been admitted to from gunshot wounds. My heart was beating so fast, I couldn't even ask the question I needed to ask. It felt unreal, like I was dreaming. I quickly got to the hospital only to be asked to wait in the waiting room. I was told that my daughter was fatally shot multiple times and she's in a critical condition. My heart shuddered and I had so many questions. I asked all the right questions in my head, but my mouth was so heavy to physically ask the questions to receive an answer. My daughter was admitted for just 2 days and she unfortunately passed away. She couldn't make it. She had been shot by her boyfriend in their apartment multiple times during an argument. After the police retrieved the footage of the apartment, my daughter had asked to quit the relationship as she was tired of the emotional and physical abuse her boyfriend had been putting her through, and because the young man wasn't ready to let her go, he shot her. The neighbors called the police due to how loud the altercation was, and also hearing gunshots in the apartment. He wanted to commit suicide after killing my daughter, but it was too late. The police got him. I had just one word for him. Go to hell. His name was Mike. I was even disgusted to mention his name, taking away something that took me so long to get, something precious that came after so many losses. He was set for death penalty as he had had previous convictions for homicide crimes in a different state. He had escaped his previous arrest and completely changed his identity. I'm not sure how that was possible for him to do, but I guess unfortunately my daughter was his next victim. I was so drained of life at this point in my life. I started taking church very seriously because technically I had no one. Yes, my brother was alive and my uncle, but we weren't living closer to each other. My other auntie had already passed away too before my daughter did. My life now was all about visiting my daughter's grave to spend some time with her, and then going to church. One day at church I was called to the front by my pastor. He asked me to wait after church as he has to talk to me about something. We talked after church and that's when I heard the most disturbing message of my life. My pastor mentioned that my sister and I had curses upon our heads, and since it hasn't broken yet, I will forever be in one trouble or another until I'm free from the curses. I was very confused on my way home as I was thinking so hard of who I may have wronged growing up, or who I did bad to cause this curses on myself, but then I remembered the message I was given when I was a teenager by an old woman by the roadside. I didn't fully remember the message, but I remembered that she said something along the lines of what my pastor told me. I thought about this message for weeks. It stole my peace and I couldn't even eat properly, but then I realized that I could speak to my only uncle left. Maybe he might know something. My brother didn't come to my mind because he's younger and doubted that he may know something about this. I visited my uncle on one faithful Friday morning. He had the day off from work, so it was perfect timing. We met and checked in on how we're doing and everything. I told him all that my pastor told me. I asked him if he knew anything about that information. He was hesitant at first, and that's how I knew he definitely knew something about it. He acted like he didn't, but I kept trying to get information out of him, and then eventually he gave in and told me everything. He said that since he is younger than me, obviously he didn't see these things happening, but he was told by his mother, my grandmother, before she passed away. He said that my mother was a very attractive-looking woman that most of the men in the town admired, but my grandmother had a friend who had a son, so they matched them together, my mother and her friend's son. Was when my mother was in her early 20s. Because of that they got married pretty early. They got married just a year after knowing each other. My mom was 24 when she got married. Their marriage went pretty well the first few years, but her in-laws, her husband's mother, wanted her grandchildren so soon and fast that she put so much pressure on my mother to have children. It was hard for my mom to conceive. She tried different medications, went to different church to find a miracle, and above it all, tried different native doctors as well. In the 8th year of her marriage, at the time she was 32, she finally found that one native doctor that helped her out to getting pregnant. She was happy, her husband was happy, everyone was happy. My mother got blinded by the excitement that she didn't pay attention to the rituals that were expected of her after our birth. She had me at 33 and had gone back when I turned 2 for another baby, and that how she had my sister as well. I was 3 years older than her. This were the expectations my mother was to follow. When I turned 5, she was supposed to take me back to the native doctor for a cleansing ritual, which she didn't because she forgot. She was supposed to do same for my sister, which again she didn't for the same reason. The second expectation was to send us to the native doctor the second time when we became teenagers, so 13 years. Again for me at 13 and my sister at 13, which she also forgot or refused to do. We grew up and life was great until my sister passed away. My grandmother used to tell my mom always to honor the native doctor's rules, but my mom always told her that she serves God and that there's nothing that can happen to us. When my sister passed away, my grandmother had already passed too, so she wasn't there to warn my mother again to take me there. My grandmother told my mom about all the consequences that could happen if she refused the sacrifices as mentioned by the native doctor, but my mom didn't care. Also, due to how my mom got us, we were never allowed to do abortion because it was against the ritual. This is the reason why my sister died when she did the abortion. My mom didn't even remember this as a result of her disobedience because she said to herself she would never take us back to the native doctor. She just wanted children and now she has 2, so that was it for her. After my mom had me and my sister, she thought to herself that it didn't matter if she doesn't have any more kids because she already has 2, but 7 years after my sister was born, she conceived my brother. This was the natural way. My mother didn't go back to the native doctor, she just happened to get pregnant with my brother. She had her and life was great. Which all makes sense because my brother's life seemed great with less trouble comparing to mine. He has his lovely wife and children. He had 2 more kids after the girl, so it's 3 children now, and not for once has he called to tell me about any life hardship like I've been through. So I guess my life tragedy was all because of the curses I had from my mother failing to perform the needed rituals for our lives. I wanted to ask my uncle if he thinks the past life trauma I've had with wanting children was as a result of this, but I didn't ask him. I just knew in my heart that that was the answer. I felt some type of anger towards my late mom. I felt bitter in my heart that she didn't do the right thing to protect us, me and my sister. What annoyed me the most was the fact that she always said she had God and didn't do anything else after that statement. Maybe if she had actually taken us to church and prayed over our lives, me and my sister would have been able to break the curses that way. But she failed to do that and/or take us to perform the rituals with the native doctor. At this point in my life, I knew I had nobody else left except my distant brother and uncle. And I was determined to gain my freedom from the curses even though it was late to do so. I had already lost everything and am really old, just that I'm strong. I can't have any more children even if I wanted to, but I was determined to break the curses, so I went to church often and my pastor prayed with me until I was free from the curses. My uncle felt sick and I knew it's old age. Yes, I'm 3 years older than him, but I'm much stronger compared to him. He was soft. Sometimes I will go over to help him out with cooking and also buying food for him because even though I was strong, I wasn't capable of always standing in the kitchen cooking for him. Soon my uncle passed away too. Now it was just me, lonely and unhappy. I tried to reach out to my brother most of the times, but there was no answer. I tried for months and one day I got lucky. Someone answered the call. That wasn't my brother, it was his wife Amanda. She told me my brother has passed away. I thought it was a joke. I still think it's a joke because how come my brother passed away and his sister doesn't know anything about that? She told me what happened to him and said he passed away when he was having a surgery and that was a year ago. I hanged up the call because she didn't even sound that serious to me. And again, why did I not hear about it until a year later? The truth is I do think my brother is still alive. He's just avoiding me for whatever reason that may be. I'm not sure if he knows about the story of my birth and that's why he's keeping his distance from me, but one thing I know for certain is that it doesn't matter who someone is to you. Once they don't want you around, it's okay to keep to yourself. I just let it go and accepted that I am now alone in the world with no children and no family. I was in my 70s now and I was starting to get a bit softer. I was also very active in church, so the youth will sometimes come over to my house to help out with chores and to keep me company. This is my life story. Thanks for watching my life story. Now, do you have similar life experiences to mine? If you do, share that in the comments section and let's connect. If you enjoyed listening to my story, please put in the comments where you're watching from and what stories you would love to hear about next. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel.